therapist and I have been talking about Wicked a considerable amount. I know, a Broadway musical probably sounds like it has no place and no business being in an emotional therapy session, but I really see myself in Elphaba. There are parts of her story that connect with mine. There are parts of me that are hard to explain without her visual. I mean, for starters, she's played by a Black woman, of which I am also, and she is an allegory for social inequality, which Black women in America do have a little bit of a hand in at all times. Not just as a Black woman as a whole, but as myself. Growing up in the South, surrounded by people who did not look like me, I just understand and feel for her. When Elphaba was born green, her parents didn't stop and ask if she was okay. They didn't call for a doctor. They didn't take her anywhere for testing. They didn't even connect the dots that, like, the green city where they do magic, the green girl who can do magic. Anyway, they didn't do any of that. They called her obscene and immediately started to other her within what was supposed to be the safety of her own home. She had no friends, no proper familial connections, and grew up very lonely. Kids sometimes struggle to articulate feeling lonely, but if the little version of me who was playing dolls alone at recess had anything to say about it, I would say she and I kind of get each other in that respect. And above all else, there is one psychological thread that ties me to Elphaba. She and I have the same problem and have come up with the same flawed solution. Elphaba from Wicked, myself, and maybe some of you, all struggle with trying to be accepted by achieving greatness. Okay, I cannot play the music from the musical because the copyright gods will smite me where I stand. So you're gonna have to listen to me, an untrained, not at all, like, not even a hobby singer. You're gonna have to listen to me bootleg sing some of these songs because I want to talk about specific songs and how they relate to this idea. So just use a little imagination, you know, cover your ears if you can't take it, but we're gonna have to be locked in here on really, really hearing what we need to hear and not what we actually hear, okay? Okay? So here's the title card, The wizard and oh my god. The wizard and The Wizard and I has an uptuned beat and high swells, but at its heart, it's a sad song. Elphaba sings about how this little shred of hope she's had her whole life, that at some point someone will love her. She sings about how this shred is beginning to come to the forefront, and there's maybe, just maybe, an opportunity that she could be accepted. She does something we're all too familiar with. She fantasizes about the perfect reality. In this perfect reality, she meets the wizard and proves her worth, of course, because her entire life has shown her that she's not worthy. But once she meets the wizard, everything will be perfect. The wizard will be more open-minded than everyone else. The wizard will see her for who she truly is. Once she's with the wizard, her whole life will change, because all of Oz has to love you when by the wizard you're acclaimed. Or a translation of those lyrics if you still didn't get it, Elphaba is trying to get Oz to approve of her, trying to get the bullying that she's endured her whole life to end, trying to be able to make a friend, be able to fall in love, be able to have a normal human experience by having the wizard, the supreme ruler of everything, the man who everyone loves and trusts, say that he loves and trusts her. It's like if Oprah came out one day and was just like, you are amazing, you are that girl. Do you really think nothing would ever come of that? You'd be getting brand deals, you'd be getting sponsorships, you'd be getting called onto every other show, and you would be a whole new bitch. That is what Elphaba is trying to achieve. I've never hoped for the supreme leader of the land to degreenify me, but I've definitely had some wizards of my own, if you will. Getting a master's degree, even if it makes no sense for my career, is my wizard. Publishing a novel, despite having no writing experience at all, is my wizard. Becoming a millionaire, learning enough languages to be a polyglot, directing an award-winning, nationally acclaimed film, they've all been my wizard for one time or another. There's always been some achievement, something, or some culmination of things that I somewhat subconsciously believed if I could just get it together, if I could just have these things and be good enough on paper, then I could get the world to co-sign me. If I could get to the heights of Kobe Bryant or Beyonce or Mother Teresa or the wizard's assistant, then everyone would have no choice but to love me. Elphaba and I have some flawless logic. And so I try, as Elphaba does, to meet my wizard, but I fail. I can't levitate the coin, and Madame Morrible isn't there to help me, so I flounder my way through art school, or I struggle so hard with getting a job after I graduate in 2020, or I try and start a business and find myself shuttering doors after a year of literally $0 in profit. I bleed time and energy and heart and spirit into projects that all amount to nothing. And after a while, I start to feel like maybe greatness just isn't meant for me. Honestly, if I'm really being candid with you guys, it can go past greatness, and it can start to feel like nothing is meant for me. You know, at the start of 2025, I was afraid to make goals or even wish for anything because it all just felt like setting myself up for failure. Wanting something was just a surefire way to not get it and be disappointed in myself. I was constantly afraid that I would come up short, and everything and anything felt impossible for me. Dancing through life here at the Oz Dust, if only because dust is what we go to. Oh my god. I have this thought in my head that I don't want to be a statistic. As a Black woman, as a Black person in America, I am associated with a lot of statistics. 19% of us don't graduate high school, another 54.1% don't finish college, our crime rates are rising, our literary rates are dropping, and politicians love to see us as failures who deserve nothing. I have strived my entire life to defeat these statistical odds and be better than the numbers say I'm supposed to be. But maybe school taught me the wrong lessons. Life is painless for the brainless, so says Fierro. And although the story treats this as a character flaw that he has to grow past, I can't help but notice the fact that he's right. In my late age, in the number of times that I have been burned and the number of things that have gone wrong, I find myself looking back and really missing my childhood sense of naivete and optimism. I've since then become a person who struggles to have basic conversations because of the scars that some of my past friendships have put on me. Life was fraughtless because I was thoughtless, at least when it came to my social standing, and I think that that's the way it was meant to be. There were actually quite a few people who were bullying me in my life, and I never noticed until adulthood. And although it is sad, sort of, as a child, I was having a great time. So what did it matter that I was categorically wrong? It all comes crashing down eventually, though. You know, when your friend who you've been friends with for 2 or 3 years tells you that they never liked you and wants you to leave them alone, or when that's not even the first or second time that happened, or when your 5th grade teacher signs you up for the class of kids who have no friends because you're literally always playing alone at recess, or when you get older and people start dating and not only are the boys not interested in you, but they go out of their way to let you know how disgusting and undesirable you are. When all of these blows just keep smacking you in the face as all you're trying to do is have a laugh with somebody, eventually that naivete, that ignorance, and that bliss all falls apart. And you're left with the humiliation that everyone has forced you into. You're left dancing by yourself in silence because someone who you thought was your friend, who you thought was finally reaching out, actually just gave you an ugly hat to make fun of you. I really feel for Elphaba in this moment. I think we all did. And I know I've pointed out some parallels, but my life was truly never as bad as hers. I at least had someone who loved me at some point. And so I think because Elphaba is in a much worse situation than most of us ever will be, I think that's why when Galinda at the time steps forward to dance with Elphaba, even though she's the one who put her in this situation, and even though she's not as big of a cosign as the wizard would have been, even though Elphaba honestly deserved better, she accepted that little show of kindness because something was better than nothing. And it wasn't the wizard, it wasn't going to solve all of her problems and help her achieve all of her dreams, but it was someone. My life is longer than 3 hours long, so I've been co-signed by people too. Sometimes friends, sometimes family. As I got older, eventually even lovers. But I've also been abandoned and hurt by a lot of those same people. So there was a time when my trust in people deteriorated to nothing. I didn't think anyone would ever stick around, and I just felt like meeting people was kind of just like doing things. It was just opening myself up and waiting for them to hurt me. Relationships could only end poorly or in death. So either way, I was going to be screwed and I was going to be emotionally wrecked by every person I chose to let into my life. And when I'm in that kind of place where the basic things I'm supposed to want as a human, a community, are things that I feel like are failing me, I at least always have my strive for greatness to lean back on. Ooh, it's time for the intermission. So I expected the 3-hour-long movie to have an intermission, but it didn't. It didn't. Part 2 is only 2 hours long, so I altered out that that's going to have an intermission, but this video has one. So I just want to thank you guys for watching. I am speaking about some struggles that I've had in the past. I feel comfortable speaking about it because I've kind of evolved past some of these things, and a lot of these things were just so long ago. But also I am still just a girl, and I just ask that you guys are nice to me and nice to anyone in the comments who can relate and wants to share something about how they're feeling. If you are enjoying this video, I do ask that you leave a comment and let me know, please, because I see that people watch the videos, but I never know if they were actually good or if they just clicked on, you watched 2 seconds that this was trash and clicked back off. So if you like it, I would like to know. If you don't like it, I would like to know why. You could leave a like, you could leave a comment, you could just subscribe, you know, you could do lots of things. But I ask you to take this moment, engage with the video, refill your water, and then we're gonna get back into it with the next song. So if you care to fly me up to the western sky. Elphaba and I both aim to be accepted by striving for greatness. So after watching part 1 of her story, I had to know if striving for greatness was the right answer. Eventually, I posed a final question to help myself solve this. Is Elphaba Katniss Everdeen or Winston Smith? Although I've already seen part 2 of the musical on LA Broadway, you don't have to worry about me spoiling it. It comes out next week. I know you want to watch it and have a good time, so I'm not going to spoil it. What I am going to spoil, though, is 2 books that came out decades ago. The Hunger Games and 1984. So we all know Katniss Everdeen. She is the hero who steps up against the oppressive regime, the Capitol. In the end, she survives the rebellion's war, steps up to defeat the oppressive regime, and ends the Hunger Games. Now you may not know the name Winston Smith, but you probably know his book, 1984. Smith is the hero in 1984 who steps up against Big Brother's oppressive regime to fight back. And in the end, he essentially dies. He doesn't literally die, but he's kept alive in a lobotomized state to serve as a warning to anyone else thinking of joining the resistance of what could happen to them if they do join. Big Brother continues to watch over society with scrutiny, and fascism continues to reign. With this unhappy ending, the book explores the dangers of totalitarianism, the role of ideology, including religion, in enabling oppression, and a terrifying future that we all risk if we fail to hold ourselves and our governments accountable. The Wizard of Oz is not God, in the same way that 1984's Big Brother is not God. But they are both touted as a godlike figure above their people. Maybe not entirely godlike in the Hunger Games, but the leaders of the capital are heavily appreciated and favored by the other people in the capital. As these stories and as modern day can teach us, putting all of your faith in one people or a small group of people can be dangerous. The Ozians operate as a sort of hive mind, especially the Munchkins as they are in the movie. They exist to continue to uphold the wizard's version of goodness. But if you're a literary person, you maybe noticed that they use the words good and wicked very carefully in that movie and in that stage play. And it is because good in the world of Oz doesn't mean the same thing that it means in our world. Good, to them, means maintaining the status quo. It's why Glinda could give Elphaba the pointy hat that she would get made fun of out of the goodness of her heart, because to be good in Oz is to maintain the status quo. And Elphaba being made fun of is the status quo. That's why the ballroom scene in Dancing Through Life, when Glinda joins Elphaba as she's dancing in silence, that's why the Munchkins' reaction is seen as kind of awkward and disingenuous. It is because they are all trying to be good, all trying to maintain the status quo of disliking Elphaba. But once the most liked person in the group, Galinda, once the most wizard-adjacent figure in the group, steps forward and says, actually, Elphaba's not so bad, all of the other Munchkins now have to play along and act like this dance is so cool because the figurehead has told them what they are supposed to like. I have to read the script for this or I'm going to fuck it up. Out of the goodness of her roommate's heart, she can be given a hat that humiliates her, and only once an accepted person dances with her will the other Ozians join in the dance. The exploration of ideas leans towards a 1984-style ending, of society continuing on as it always has been, and Elphaba being like Winston, another wisp in the wind that tried to defy the leader but couldn't get past all of the brainwashing and all of the work that it would take to do it. It was the people's almost religious faith of Big Brother that stopped Winston from being able to make any progress in thwarting him. So if the Ozians and the Munchkins are following the wizard as their savior, almost as their god, will Elphaba be able to thwart him? Please ignore the slips of my tongue. I've done so many takes, like I can't do another take, okay? She's just gonna be Elphaba for right now, and we're gonna like it, okay? The song Defying Gravity, however, brings the Katniss Everdeen style ending back to the forefront. It's a similar song to The Wizard and I in that it's a tragically beautiful song. Elphaba has lived her whole life in misery. She's never been good enough for anyone, and the only shred of hope she had was that the wizard, basically the god of Oz, might one day save her. It was a delusional dream, but it was all she had. And in one short day in the Emerald City, not only is the dream dangled in front of her face and snatched away from her, but she comes to understand that she'll never be able to get it back. There's no one left who can degreenify her. No one who could even do it in the first place. There's no way for society to ever co-sign her. Even her only friend is choosing the wizard over her. They are all good, and she alone is wicked. Despite it all, Elphaba declares without a second thought that nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or soon to be was, is ever going to bring her down. And that takes power. It takes power like the power Katniss Everdeen had to use to volunteer herself to be, like the power I sometimes find in my own life. It shows our ability to see ourselves and all of the greatness that we naturally hold, even in these times of ambivalence and struggle. I don't know that ambivalence means what I think it means, but it does now. It does now. So was part 2 going to be a twist ending where Elphaba didn't die as it seems she did in The Wizard of Oz? I had expected part 1 to, at some point, establish that Elphaba was allergic to water, and they didn't. So I felt hopeful. There was a chance that she was gonna survive this whole mess, and the Wizard of Oz version where she dies is like a misunderstanding or a fake out or something, because why would water kill her? It wouldn't, because she is that bitch. She is Katniss. She is about to thwart the wizard. He's gonna be clutching his precious little pearls as she destroys him, and it's gonna be a happy ending. Or was part 2 going to be Elphaba as a fugitive in a country that hates her without a single friend in the world? How could her horrendous situation that had somehow gotten worse drive her to anything but madness? I actually couldn't decide how the story was meant to end, so I blew $300 on an LA Broadway ticket, watched the whole play, and found out for myself. Again, don't worry, no spoilers. However, despite how I now know it ends, and despite all the feelings I have about that ending, I find myself asking, does the ending even really matter? If the wizard wins, does that mean Elphaba was wrong for standing up to him? And if Elphaba wins, does that mean greatness is truly the only path to acceptance? No, I don't think so. Whether she succeeds or not, Elphaba was right to challenge injustice. She doesn't need to be accepted or victorious or good to be worthy. What matters is that she stood in her truth, claimed her power, and accepted herself. That is what makes her heroic. So I think it's gonna take me some time to shrink my desire to be great, but luckily I have a therapist for that, I have friends and family for that, and I have my journal to help guide me through that journey and get to a place where I am no longer looking for a new version of the wizard to show up and validate me. Although I'm still on my journey and still waiting to find out what my personal part 2 will be, I do know that I don't need to be approved of by anyone in particular to be right. I don't need the Ozians to agree with me. I don't need the Munchkins. I don't need the wizard. I don't even need Glinda to be on my side. If I want to, at any point, I can stand up or fly up in the air, tell you hoes you ain't never gonna stop me, and dust off into the western sky. There's nothing stopping any of us from just claiming our own power and defining what matters in our own lives. I don't need to be the greatest to be worthy. I don't. I can have aspirations and I can have dreams and I can have things that I care about, but achieving those things in some particular way or some particular amount of time doesn't define me. What defines me is me and how I feel about myself, and I am trying to live a different kind of life. You might say, the unexamined life. I'm sorry, there's so many puns in this video, I can't. I would love to hear from you guys on this as well. Are you Elphaba? Do you relate to her? Do you feel like your life story is going in a 1984 direction or going in a Katniss Everdeen direction? If not this striving for greatness, what about Elphaba do you relate to? Because I think that's why Wicked is so powerful. A lot of us are Galinda. A lot of us, when given the option to completely ostracize ourselves from everyone and do the crazy thing and go the crazy way, would say, hey, no, I'm gonna go do the interview with Oprah, actually. A lot of us are Glinda in action, but a lot of us are Elphaba in heart and in spirit. So what about that movie resonates with you? What are you excited for part 2 next week? I can't wait. I literally already know how it ends and I can't freaking wait. I'm gonna see it with my friends and then I'm gonna see it with another person and I'll probably see it by myself. I'm gonna see it a million times. Gonna give another 20 hours of my life to this movie. And I'm going to work on myself and my mental health in the process. Once again, guys, I'm trying a new style in this video, making it a little bit more personal than I usually do, but trying out this commentary thing as well. So let me know how you guys are liking this video and just the videos that I've been doing lately. Some links are appearing. If you like this video, again, this is what I've been doing lately, so you'll like these as well. Give one of them a view. And I will see you guys next time, where in which I, a girl in her 20s, will continue to try and figure out what is going on. I'll see y'all then, and until then, doodle it. I was gonna like shrink away, but you could see me in the mirror, so I'll have to turn the camera off. Bye, guys.